the college for some of the official work. I think you can hear me. Is it so?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
We're able to hear.
Yeah. So when I came to know that the program is being conducted for teachers in particular, and teachers that too from various fields, so I thought to select a topic which is more, close to every teacher as such, because when I'm going to talk about, say, preparation of lipid nanoparticle or something of that sort, very focused pharmaceutical research, then other branches, teachers will not be interested. So I thought that I should talk about what is going on and what is very important when we are doing publications and all. And accordingly, I just tried to take up a topic which is close to all teachers and what all precaution and things we need to do when we are publishing and what are the ethical considerations which are going on. So I thought of talking to you. So I'm just sharing my presentation right now. Is my presentation on the screen? Can you see it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is visible.
It's visible. Okay, thank you. Thank you for confirming the same. And the presentation talks about the quality attributes, right, and ethics in publication, right? But just 1 minute. I have to adjust the toolbar, which will be otherwise causing problem to me, right? Anyways, okay, thank you. So in the presentation, I'm going to talk and discuss about the need of performance indicators, right? What are the performance indicator in case of research publication in particular? And what is his role in ranking and accreditations? And benchmarking of publication, the quality attributes which I'm emphasizing on, what are benchmarks of publications, and what are the databases which are being considered for most of the rankings and the accreditation process as such? What are research matrices in terms of the, I don't know, there's some screen which is disturbing me. I don't know where to put it over there. I'm not much familiar with the Zoom app, but we are generally using Google Meet. Anyways, so research matrices talking about publication, impact factors, citation, H-index, G-index, ITEN index, and how things are being considered as such, right? And what are the recommendations of good academic research practices which are laid down by University Grants Commission as such? So what is the reflection spot is that because when we are taking the lecture in the time when the I want to minimize this toolbar. I don't know from where I can minimize it. I'm not able to find out a feature over here. If anybody can guide me, this toolbar is appearing here. Share sound, hide video panel.
Sir, Javed, sir.
Press escape button, sir. Then it.
There's a toolbar appearing, I don't know, it is appearing on this one, or, if it can be minimized, because it is taking most of the space on the slide.
Sir, you just press escape button.
I can't hear it, Yeah. Hello?
Sir. Sir, you can continue, sir. I can actually see your screen. Yes, sir.
Till this screen is here. Anyways, right? So very difficult here. I don't know what is it.
Sir, is it visible, sir? Your screen is visible to all, sir, for us.
My screen is visible, but there is some toolbar coming on the screen which is covering most of the slide. Anyways, I don't know whether it is being seen by the participant or not, but anyways, I will continue. I was talking about the
Not seen by participant.
okay, so I was talking about the reflection spot to give a thought what are the components of performance indicators for research publication, or what we are saying is the quality attributes. So in case of research is to see what everybody else has seen and to think what nobody else has thought, because there's so many research experiments going on. Everybody is seeing from one's, that they know the method of preparation of nanoparticle, they know targeting and whatnot, but what else difference you have thought of, that is basically research. Research talks about sustainability, talks about credibility, theory of change, knowledge, collaboration, whatnot. So there will be synonym almost like more than 100 to which represent research in particular, and accordingly the indicator also indicate in that way only. The performance indicators when you talk of research, because nowadays the institutions are being recognized on the basis of the publication, type of bibliometric matrices, which talks about the quality. It also talks about the measure of accountability. So many budget allocation is being done for granting projects and then government funding, NGO funding, and so on. So those fundings are being used, and the institutions are accountable to come up with an outcome in terms of publication or patent in particular. You can compare similar institutions, right? You can compare Vishnu with Jamia Hamdard, or you can compare Jamia Hamdard. The important comparison parameter is the publication. And similarly, not only institutions, individuals are also compared on the basis of the publication profile which they have. Improving effectiveness in management by providing the information. You can improve the management system within the organization, saying that this is the budget allocation and the outcomes are not going, is not coming good, because whenever you are going for accreditation and ranking, so this is a very important parameter which talks about the performance of the institute as such. So accordingly, management can come out with the measures by which they can improve their performance. If there's a proper utilization of resources and proper chemical, consumable, and then the fixed assets, that is equipments are purchased from time to time, that is building up of an infrastructure also, and at the same time, when you're applying your resources, the outcome is publication or patent in particular. This is also for creating awareness among stakeholders for the higher education, like students, faculty, parents, government, and society at large. So as a faculty, we are honored. We feel pride in telling that these are my H-index score, my citation like these. Students also, and accordingly, the institutions are also representing. So it is a both way. When you are doing good publication, benefited, the institutions are benefited. And when institutions are benefited, accordingly, the payback is the faculties are benefited. So there are so many schemes of government of India which takes into consideration the quality publication. There is a scheme which is known as PERS grant from DST. Jamia Hamdard is an recipient of this grant, and we are in cycle 2 on the basis of the H-index and citation. These grants are given to the institute in particular. Then the SAP scheme, specially assisted program scheme for department, which is being conducted by University Grants Commission also. They are also giving this grant on the basis of the, performance in terms of publication by the department. There is a FIST grant. The grant is talking about the infrastructure buildup of a department of a school based on the publication data. So many things, so many advances are all interrelated. The budgets are interrelated. So you can understand the importance. And I think important is already known to so many teachers in particular. So publication, why we need to go for publication is a product of your research. You are extending and replicating to the other peers. It is basically a newspaper to the scientists because you are communicating it. And it is also talking about credibility, which I've already talked about, PERS grant, FIS grant, SAP and departmental assistance programs, which are given by various government agencies as well. It is also the coin for credibility in the academic promotion, because whenever you're going for an open post or a cash post, right, always your annual assessment also based on the one of the important parameter is the publication, quality publications which you have made. Now, lot of institutes have also come up with incentive scheme for publishing papers in good impact factor journal and so on. So you are also sharing the scientific knowledge for the purpose when you are doing the publication as such. Coming to the ranking, when you talk of rankings, academic ranking, the world universities, science, higher education, world university ranking, QS, world university, QS, Asian university, young university, India Today ranking. So all different types of ranking take into consideration the publication profile as such. In case of an IRF also, if you see the research and the professional practices in terms of combined matrices for the publications, right? Combined matrices for the quality publication, right? They're all having an important marks in research and professional practices. That is the level 2 or the criteria 2 of NIIF. Matrices of publications, quality publications, which are number of citation normalized by average faculty, number of papers that appear in top 25 percentile of the cited papers in the world are considered, and accordingly, the marks for these are being done. So since 2016, we are getting full marks in our publication, research, and professional practices criteria, and this is only because the publication output at our institute is higher, and accordingly, we are fetching the marks and thus maintaining the ranking portfolio for the past so many years. It is also interesting to know they do not ask for any data to be provided by the institute. The data is taken from third party, that is from the Scopus index or the Google index, right? Accordingly, that is being considered. So all databases are basically checked for NRIF, and they do not ask for any data of publication. National Board of Accreditation also, in the case of the accreditation of program-specific programs like VFORM and so on, they also put credit for research and development. And in academic research, they talk about number of quality publications, book chapters, and so on. So it is also one of the important aspects in case of National Board of accreditation process as such. When we talk of the NAC, that is the National Assessment Accreditation Council, this also gives emphasis in criteria through that 3, that is research, innovations, and extension, and then talk about the various parameters which talks about the quality publication. For example, number of research papers per teachers in journals notified on UGC website in the last 5 years. So UGC listed, data is being asked. Then the data is also being asked for books and book chapters as such, right? And then they are also asked for bibliometric publication during the last 5 years, citation index in terms of Scopus, Web of Science, PubMed, Indian Citation Index, and so on. And then there are calculation formula which talks about the citations which are gathered, and then there is a parameter, quantitative parameter for bibliometric indexes. Accordingly, the bibliometric indexes of the publication with the last 5 years, they are based on Scopus, Web of Science, that is H index of the university. The formula is being used in order to come up with a quality attribute parameter for the criteria 3 bibliometric publication in the last 5 years and so on. So with this, I can always, in the initial slide, try to tell you that publication is not only in terms of the faculty publishing and then building up the CV, but it is a whole process where accreditation, rankings, credibility, accountability, the rational use of budget, everything is all involved when you are doing research, because in a pharmacy institution in particular, because these are not research organization, teachers are coming forward. And besides doing teaching, they also try to put time in research so that, and when they do research, the outcome is publication in particular. So when we are publishing something, we publish in terms of the journal as such, right? And the journals are being classified on the basis of indexation and non-indexation. Indexation is nothing else but electronic database in which the journal is being listed, like PubMed. And non-index is a journal which is not being indexed in any of the electronic database. So it is known as non-index. Index journals are being considered to be of higher quality as compared to non-indexed, and accordingly, most of the organization give different type of weightage to index and non-index journals as such. When we talk about indexation of journal, it is considered as a reflection of its quality, and they are considered of higher scientific quality as compared to non-index journal. Indexation services, as mentioned, PubMed. Then there are so many services like Embase, Scopus. So there are so many African Index Medicus, and then DOAJ, Expanded Academic ASAP, right? OpenGate, Primo Central. So they are all indexation services. You will find that every journal talks about that we are indexing these electronic databases and so on. Then when you talk of a journal, then journal generally go for two types of assessment of a paper which is submitted to it, that is being termed as a refereed process or a non-refereed process. Refereed process is basically reviewing process, and in the non-refereed publication, the publication is like without peer review. There are so many journal which charges very petty amount like 1,500, 2,000 rupees. And so many, and most of them are also listed of the record, I would like to say, in UGC database, right? UGC listed, and then they are also publishing, but the publication is without peer review. A refereed journal is one that is blind reviewed and has two external reviewers. Blind review means that the term is in the term of criteria of objectivity and of knowledge, because in blind review process, the judgment is on the basis of merit and not on the repetition or influence of the author, because the authors are not known to the reviewer, but obviously the reviewers are also not known to the authors as such, and that's why it is being termed as more robust process as such. Beside the indexation, index journal, non-index journal, talking about the things like refereed and non-refereed papers. The other type of journals are open perspective. A common impression that open access refers to free, unrestricted online access to research outputs, such as journal articles and books as such, and it is open to all with no access fee. Because whenever you are talking about journal, you need to have a subscription of the journal. But now the trend in the last 5 years has changed, where journals are charging a article processing charges, and they are publishing in the open access. And generally, the open access, when you talk of the point comes, they are pediatric journals. But when you compare a open access journal and a pediatric journal, they are somewhat different as such, right? Because pediatric journal is a journal in which a publication that actively asks researcher for manuscript. So in my email box, every time I'm getting 25 mails talking about submitting manuscript, right? They have no peer review system and no true editorial board. And when you just try to find the editor board on the website, they will mention it is under publication or it is going to be published or something like that. They also ask for a huge publication fee and charges, and accordingly, they are not much of importance as such, right? So So they also ask for the huge publication charges in particular, right? So DOAG, they give a directory of open access journals. So you get in order to find out whether your journal is indexed or not, you can check it on the indexation sites, electronic databases, or there is a directory which is also talking about open access journal, and this directory talks about very authentic journals which are open access, but they are also charging fee in particular as such. The pediatric journal, for the pediatric journal, there is a cabal list which is being because these pediatric journals are basically the journals which are as mentioned that they are like very of not good quality, and they are not following the peer review process. Cabal list is available, right, which talks about the predatory journals and these journal lists. So you can always think, check, and submit. Always think, check, and submit. These are three key steps. And whenever you are submitting, because our young generation is very impatient, young teachers are very impatient. They would like to see the easy way out, that my process should be followed quickly as follow. But have patience if you want to have good publication. First thing, what you want to publish, what are the orientation of the journal in which you are putting your paper. You check twice, thrice what type of quality of papers they are publishing, what is the type of journal, and then submit, then take a decision. You can go to different lists like SCI, which I will come across what are that lists for the SCI science, citation index journals, and so on. Otherwise, you can check on Table list, that is basically the predatory journal, directory of open access journal, and so on, right? So evaluation of the journal is basically done, the research is basically done by impactfulness, right? So impact evaluation or ranking is data debatable. Evaluation can be combination of various approaches, right? So bibliographic indicator, that is citation databases, Web of Science, Scopus, and whatnot, right? And there may be a non-bibliographic indicators, which are web-based matrices, alt matrices, social media matrices, talking about bookmarks, talking about likes, dislikes, and so on. So they are non-bibliographic indicators, and there may be peer evaluation and open surveys also, which are being followed in terms of non-bibliographic indicators. When you talk of quality attributes in terms of publication, they can be classified on the basis of three major categories. One is productivity, the other one is the impact, and the third one is the excellence. So when I talk of quality attributes, it is talking about productivity, citation, and the excellence as such. So what is productivity? So it is talking about number of papers, yes, rightly said, but how many of those papers are index publication? And in index publication also, how many publications are in impact factor journal? So productivity is never an accident. It is always the result of a commitment to excellence, intelligent planning, and focus effort. So whenever you focus that I'm going to publish in a paper, in a journal, which is an index journal, having a good impact factor, and probably there is no charges applicable. So that is your intelligent planning and focus effort. And when you're talking about the impact is being reflected through citation. Whether the paper is not at all cited, non-citation, what are the number of citations, average number of citation per paper, and then self-citation. When you bring research quotations, paraphrases, facts, statistics, etc. into your paper, you must give credit to the source and its authors. Giving credit to a source is also called citing a source as such. Research excellence, we are going to see what excellence is not automatic, but it is a whole process which talks about perseverance. And these are being reflected through H index, I10, and G index, and so on. So when we are talking about the quality attribute, productivity, impact, and excellence, they are the representative of the quality attributes for publication. So productivity, general quality rate, right, in what all type of things we are going to use. So how to select journal, index journal, refereed article, impact factor, and scientific importance, whether it is a original research article, a review article, or what type, right? And the order of importance of a journal is time to publication, frequency of publication, open access or not, similar papers on the same line. Suppose you are a chemistry person or a pharmacology person, but a similar type of papers are being published by the journal, what type of audience they are being referring to, what is the impact factor, and what is the cost involved. And in order of a case of whether it is an open access, whether the open access journal also having an impact factor, or what is the audience, and so on. So journal selection process is the 4 point of evaluation. Journal publishing standards, what are the standards, right? Editorial content, what type of editorial contents are there? Then the international diversity the authors are having or the editorial board is having, and what is the citation analysis. They also categorize journals of top 25 percentile, and accordingly what type of citation analysis the journal also have. Journals also have their own impact factor also, that is also going to impact it. So when you are choosing a right journal based on overall approach of research, based on subject matter, and you have to read the instructions carefully, objective quality of an importance based on impact factor, other consideration like response time, page charges, and UGC approved list. So you can check UGC approved list of journal, uh, that is also known as UGC care list, and this care list can be checked from the UGC Grants Commission. So they have two types of different lists as such. One is the list of journals which are already indexed like Scopus or Web of Science, and those journals which are not indexed, that is like not given in Scopus or Web of Science, but being recognized as UGC approved journals in the UGC journal list as such. Coming to the productivity, talking about the journals which are index journal and the article manuscripts are referred manuscript. The third point is how many papers in impact factor journal. So this impact factor journal is basically a calculation of the last 2-year data. For example, if I would like to calculate impact factor for 2023, I will be considering the data for the past 2 years. The past 2 years, how many number of times the citations have come up for the journal, number of times article published in the last 2 years, which have been cited. For example, a journal has got say 1,000 type of citations as such, right? And divided by in those two last year, how many papers were published in terms of proceeding, review, original article, notes, letter to editor, and so on. So citable items, they are divided by. So 1,000 citation, suppose in the last 2 years, 100 papers were published, so divided by 100, it will come out to be as 10. So the impact factor is a measure of popularity and not quality of a journal or a quality of a paper, because a journal may get good citation because of one paper only or two paper only, and other papers are not cited to a very significant number. And so it is always debatable, because there is one guideline which talks about research assessment San Francisco guidelines, in which they mention that impact factor should not be considered as a quality parameter. I am also an expert to one of the organization which is equivalent to CSIR, the French government. So whenever they are sending something for assessment of a scientist or a project, so they always mention impact factor comment need not to be given. So they will put a CV of the scientist and they will say that we follow the research assessment guidelines of San Francisco. We are signatory to the San Francisco guideline. Accordingly, impact factor not to be considered. So it is slowly, some of the European Union governments are not giving importance to the impact factor also. This is the report which is being published by Clarivate Analytics. Earlier, Thomson Reuters was publishing general citation report for the impact listing, but nowadays this is being taken up by the Clarivate Analytics, and accordingly you will find Clarivate sign over here, and then they will give you the journal name and the journal impact factor as such. So that can also be seen here. For example, CAA Cancer Journal for Clinicians. The impact factor is 508. So you can understand publishing 500 papers in one impact factor journal and publishing one paper in a journal with an impact factor of 508. What makes more sense? Impact factor, once many of the organization, the governments, they are relying on the impact factor. So we humans are very prompt in making fake impact factor values and so on. So you will find so many journals calculating their own impact factor. They are not listed in the Clarivate list, that is the science citation list, but they are claiming for impact factor, and then they are mentioning like it is a global impact factor, it is a general impact factor, universal impact factor, index Copernicus impact factor. So they're all fake, type of a matrices, and they should not be relied upon. So there are so many fake indexes available. So as an author, you should know what is the difference between the original or authentic impact factor value and a non-authentic impact factor value as such. One of the NAC data also talks about CIMAGO journal rank and source normalized impact factor per paper. So at this stage, I think need not to go in deep, but the important part is it is talking about the measure of the prestige of scholarly journals. So you will find some journals which are very high importance in case of, say, pharmacy. There may be some journals which will be important in case of food technology, agriculture science. So people are mixing all type of publications. Suppose I'm a pharmacy person, pharmaceutics, and then I am publishing something in agricultural sciences. So that gives that how the citations then accordingly being received by the journal. So this is talking about the prestige of the journal, and they are computed using network analysis of the citation received by the journals as such. And it has calculation based on number of citation as well as the source of citation. So they will number it and they will calculate it, the number of citation with the source of citation. This means a credit given to the journal, and then they come up with a figure which talks about, and then the weightage is less for the lower as prestige journal and so on. In the source normalized impact factor, so they normalize the assessment of the journal impact. These sources are ratio of a source average citation count and the citation potential. So prediction is being done. For example, there is some pharmacy research and published in the pharmacy journal. So slip value will be higher because citation potential is higher in case of pharmacy journal and so on. So citation potential is measured as a number of citations that a journal would be expected to receive for its subject. So these are two another values which are also being considered for a journal, that is the SGR and slip value. A new terminology has been coined for the past few years by Elsevier, and they launched in December 2016 and be termed as site score. So earlier, in case of impact factor, 2 years data was being used, right? So in the case of the something to be calculated in 2019, we'll take the data of the last 3 years. So it is basically compilation of 3 years data instead of 2 years data. That is the number of citation for the past 3 years divided by the number of article published in the 3 years. So that is site score. And nowadays the Elsevier papers are being, journals are giving site score on their website also. So far we have talked about productivity in terms of publishing number of paper index journal, paper in as a refereed journal, and the impact factor, and that too a true impact factor in two sense. The second research impact is the citation, and it is a kind of a bibliographic index. When you talk of Scopus citation compile from the journals more than 23,000. So, and when you talk of Web of Science, it is 18,000 journals are being considered, more than 18,000. And Google Scholar, there is no limit. Even if it is being published in a newspaper and a newspaper citation is there, they will count that also. So this is also like a marketing thing where you have to purchase a subscription in order to find out the citation for your individual faculty or a paper or things like that. And so research impact citation will be relying on the number of citations which you have got, what are the papers which have not at all being cited, and what are the citation per average citation per faculty, right, or per paper, and then self citation. Suppose I have 1,000 citation. In 1,000 citation, how many citations are self cited? That is being cited by myself as such. When you talk of research excellence, it is being talking about H index in particular. Everybody knows, everybody talks about H index, and this is the term which is being termed as H index, which is a measure the impact of a particular scientist rather than a journal. And this is defined as the highest number of publication of a scientist that received H or more citation each, while the other publications have not more than H citation. For example, you have 100 list of paper, and out of 100, your 10 papers have got 10 or more than 10 citation, 10 or more than 10. So your H index will be 10, right? Suppose here the example is taken for a list of paper in which a scholar is having an H index of 5. So that will reflect me that at least out of his list of publication, 5 papers either have 5 or more publication. So more publication may be 500, it can be 100, but the minimum will be 5. So it will be more than 5 or more than 5 H indexes. I-10 similarly talks about 10 or more citation. The number of papers having 10 or more citation in I-10 index. Nowadays, people have also started citing one I-100 index, which talks about, number of papers having 100 or more than 100 citations. Now, for the citation received and given a number of paper ranked in a decreasing order, according to the citation received till now, the G index is the biggest number, such that the top G article received altogether at least G square citations as such. So you will arrange in the decreasing order, and then you just try to square it, and the number where it matches is a G index, whether the number of paper and the G square matches. Suppose here you are getting say 100. So when the G square citations also matches the 100, that is the G index of the citation. This index assists the H index and give more weightage to the highly cited papers. So highly cited papers are given more weightage. However, in the case of H index, if your H index is 5, so 5 paper will be having 5 or more than 5. Even if one of the paper is having 1,000 citation, it has no meaning because it is only talking about the minimum number of 5 matching with the minimum number of citations. That's why they have come up new values as such. So this is one of the screenshot which I would like to just share with you. You can also, I don't know whether how many faculty is a young faculty and then they have started publishing. You can create a Google Scholar account, right? And this will, always comply or compile your own from your email and all, and will compile the number of citations, what out of this citation, what is your H index, what is I-10 index, and so on. So Google Scholar, there is no limit, so it is taking everything. Scopus talks about number of documents which you have, the number of citations which you have, and the what is the H index as such. That also give you the profile of citation, how it is increasing year by year, and so on. The Web of Science, since Web of Science is having only 18,000 till 18,000 journals, not much number. So always the value of H index will be lesser than the Scopus. So highest H value is given by Google Scholar because there is no limit. Then in the case of Scopus, it is up to like 23,000, and in Web of Science, it is like 18,000 or more, which are being considered as. Besides these bibliometric matrices, we have non-bibliometric matrices, which are like the alternative matrices. And nowadays, everybody is talking about digital footprints and so on, right? So non-citation matrices monitor initial influence or attention of work on various online platforms. It is an evidence of outreach and serve as a complementary measure to traditional citation, as well as allowing authors to having multiple examples of scholarly output. And it is basically the digital footprint around an article, bookmark, saves to online, and then talking about the mention in the social network, discussions, favorite or likes, recommendations, comment, annotations, and so on. And now these are being compiled on platforms like Altmetrics, Impact Stories, Kudos, Palm Analytics, and so on. So these are non-bibliometric. Maybe in the coming years, they also take the market like this. So Altmetrics will be about the publishers, for the institutions, for the researcher also. For example, here, this is one of the non-bibliometric data talks about this total citation, which they have complied. Then online attention, this is the Altmetrics, non-bibliographic, talking about how many times the article was tweeted, how many sharing on Facebook pages, mentioned in Google posts, how many news outlet is as big, how many times it has been circulated on Reddit and so on. So this is also being there. Now coming to the second part of the presentation is the scientific misconduct in publishing or ethics in publication. So we are always seeing nowadays a lot of awareness being created for plagiarism, falsification, fabrication, and all those types of misconducts which are happening nowadays. So fabrication is defined as recording or presenting fictitious data. You have not done anything, but you have fabricated the data. Falsification. You have done certain experiment, but you are not able to produce this as outcome or a result. Now, accordingly, you are falsifying some of the data in order to come up with your acceptance of the hypothesis or in order to meet the objective. Plagiarism is using someone else's words, ideas, or results without attribution. So these are the errors. If you have the issues which are like misconduct issues, you have an honest error like experimental error, theoretical error, work not reproducible. There may be problematic data. There may be a falsified data reporting, data issue. There are issues on data ownership and disclosure. There are duplicate publications, self-plagiarism, plagiarism of other authors, lack of authorization, missing author, affiliation error, unclear authorship, theoretical error, experimental error, all are problems, right? So they are like errors, and accordingly, they are being categorized under the category of misconduct of publication as such. Now, this has resulted in a retraction of paper, and when you publish good article, good impact factor, good citation, it is being termed as Hall of Fame. And when you are doing wrong things, so it becomes the Hall of Shame. So the papers which are retracted does not mean they are removed from the journal. Retracted paper will always be there on the journal website, and it will be at an angle marked with a red ink that it is retracted. So it is type of a hall of shame for the scientists when the papers are being retracted as such. Accordingly, the data fabrication and falsification, they are overlapping. Sometimes a whole of the data is fabricated, so it will be coming under the category of fabrication. And sometimes some data has been genuine and some data has been falsified in order to meet the required objective, and accordingly, it is a falsified and fabricated data. So this is also like doing willfully suppressioning of any data, distorted data, manipulating data. So these are all coming under misconduct as such. Plagiarism, already, it is type of a stealing someone's idea or words and then claiming that it is my work. Simultaneous submission to 2 or more journals, that is also plagiarism. Students will come to me and will say, sir, wo article, we will send it to 2 different journals. Whosoever is going to publish fast, that we will get it done, and the other paper then we will withdraw. But this is also coming under plagiarism. So we always tell students, you send it to one journal, wait for the result, and then we can communicate to the other journal. Includes the unauthorized use of ideas or unique methods obtained by privileged communication, such as grant or manuscript review. We are getting so many manuscript review, and then we are also assessing grants also. So if you are unauthorized in using the idea, means you are not authorized to use those things which I have come to for the review. So accordingly, everybody has their own integrity, and accordingly, this also falls under plagiarism. Copying something unattributed, that is there, you are not giving citation, and then copying the whole verbatim, then it also comes as the plagiarism. So there are software available for similarity index, authenticate, then Turnitin, Urkun and Plagscan, which has been converted to original, has been taken away now by UGC, and it is like Drill, a new software they have just developed in the coming past weeks. So Authenticate and Turnitin, they are more reliable because the database is higher and they charge subscription things from here. And then the third one is Drill rather than Urkun, which is being propagated through UGC as such. In the case, the publications are also being known as redundant publication on duplicate publication, and this comes under the category of plagiarism. And this is also overlapping. A thin line is there. Redundant publication is defined as publication of copyrighted material with additional new or unpublished data. So you have copied most of the data, but you have added few new data or unpublished data, then it becomes redundant publication. And duplicate publication is also something like article that is identical or overlaps substantially with an article already published elsewhere, with or without acknowledgement. It can be called as self-plagiarism. One committee on publication ethics have sent me one article, two articles rather, and the first was having the history of being published earlier to the second article, and the whole article was identical. Only the drug candidates was different, paracetamol, and the another one is diclofenac sodium. So when I went to the paper, in the paracetamol paper was duplicated by the diclofenac sodium paper. So what he has done Control F, find out paracetamol, replace with diclofenac sodium. So what the system has done, even in the reference list, the publication having the word paracetamol, they were replaced by diclofenac sodium, and the whole paper got published in an Indian journal. So such type of experience we are seeing. So it is also very important to accordingly see in that way as such, right? The autoplagiarism is very common practice, and it is basically cut and paste. Suppose I'm working on lipid nanoparticle, you will find all introduction always in a similar fashion. But when you have published something, though you are an original owner, you are not the legal owner because you have given the copyright to the publisher by the copyright agreement. So either you have to take a permission from him, or you have to change the repeated lines which are using. Conflict of interest in another area. University employees who fulfill professional obligation objectively sometimes face an unpleasant but unavoidable situation when a conflict exists between the official responsibility and their private interest. Conflict of interest, either individual or institutional, can be real or perceived. Recognizing the potential for conflict of interest is usually easy, but it can be extremely difficult to determine whether a conflict actually exists if not fully disclosed. There was a grant which was given by Pfizer to a scientist for a vaccine under investigation by Pfizer, and the scientist group did not disclose that the studies conducted on vaccines were supported by a grant by Pfizer. It became a very big issue, and the paper was withdrawn because of conflict. So it is very important to disclose all conflicting interest, statement. And if there is no conflict of interest statement, you write nil. Otherwise, you have to mention and analyze small things that there is no conflict and things like that. What I was talking about, COPE, Committee on Publication Ethics. So they are every time they are coming up, and they are coming up with recommendations for the misconduct, and accordingly these are being the efforts of COPE that the misconduct, unethical practices in publications have started coming into light, right? And you have seen so many vice chancellors, professors, and whatnot. They are all being affected if they have done their data publication with casual approach. And that's why in 2018, University Grants Commission came with the promotion of academic integrity and prevention of plagiarism in higher education institute regulation 2018. And they have recommendation that there may be level of plagiarism if the software talks about level 0, which is less than 10, recommended one, and there is no penalty. But if it is 10 to 40, there is a penalty, 40 to 60 penalty, more than 60% is a severe penalty. But it has to go through two different departmental integrity panel. The departmental academic integrity panel will talk about there is a constitution for this, and then there's a composition of institutional academic panel. So first, a complaint receipt is being taken by the departmental academic integrity, and the recommendation being sent to the institutional academic committee. It is very important to incorporate a member which is well versed with the anti-plagiarism tool, because that the paper simply when it is put in the software, so if you write Newton, well-known name will appear in 10,000 paper, they will show it is generalized content, Newton name, right? Or some equation which you are using. So it is also very important to put a human intervention to the report which is generated to a software to analyze that what is the level of similarity. So that is also, that's why these recommendations are being there. And in the case, the severity is very much now, if in case there's a submission of thesis and the similarity is over 60%, then these registration of students shall be cancelled, whether it's an M.Pharm or a PhD. If it is 40 to 60, the student will be debarred for submitting a revised script for a period of 1 year. So, and for 10 to 40% is 6 months, and for 10% is no penalty as such. The penalty class you can see. And in case of publication also, if it is 10 to 40, you have to withdraw manuscript. If 10 to 60, shall be asked to withdraw manuscript and then will be denied annual increment. This is for the teacher, and he will not be allowed to supervise M.Pharm or PhD scholar for a period of 2 years. In the case of severe penalty, he will not be supervisor for a period of 3 years. There will be 2 successive annual increments not being given and will be asked to withdraw the manuscript. So you can understand the severity and the importance what institutions are emphasizing on. And with these points, in September 2020, the COVID time, the GVC came with the good academic research practices. So there's a guideline mentioned, and accordingly, institutions are being advised to follow these practices so that you have a quality assurance process which comes with this assuring quality within the whole research process will come up with a control and research outcome as the basic objective as such. So in conclusion, I would like to conclude like a lot of research is being produced and there is a lot of pressure on researcher to publish. A journal score does not say anything about the quality of an individual article within the journal. It can only be reflected to the citation. All the scores are just numbers and tell us a little about citations. A better choice is to expand the list of acceptable journals by entertaining some additional measures of impact, or even take the journal itself out of the equation and just focus on the individual article and its impact. So that individual article can be given a most impact assessed. So benchmarking of the quality attributes of publication is always questionable. What parameters to be considered, what parameters to be avoided. So not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. So these are the saying, and accordingly, the scientists or the institution, they generally give the research profile view like this, what I have presented over here, and then the thank you for your patient listening. And for more information on journal matrices and links to sources, you can visit the journal metrics section of the research impact guide. The link is given. It is from the library of the Ohio State University. So thank you for your patient listening, and if there are any questions, I will happy to address to. Thank you.
Sir, I have one question, sir. So I'm Banu Prakash, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you are audible. Yeah, I can hear you.
Sir, okay. So how to cite a book chapter, and can we calculate impact factor for book chapter, sir?
See, I have told you that in cases where the publishers like Elsevier publishing, right, houses, so Scopus will cite all Elsevier papers, right, those who have offered themselves, right? So you will find citation on the Scopus for book chapters also. And
Okay.
there's no procedure of citation. If your chapter is available online or it is available in a hard copy, and if I read it, and if I find something to be cited in my paper, but obviously I will cite your book chapter in an edited book in my paper and mention that this chapter has been taken, and accordingly when I quote it over there in the journal is online, it is being captured by the Scopus team, and then it is available on the author Scopus, link or the profile talking about that this book chapter has been cited by this paper. So you can always cross check. You put click in and clicking. You have the one book chapter. You click it. It will say these are the papers which have cited your paper and all. So it is automatically done. That's why if you publish with the good publishing houses like Elsevier, Springer, and so on, but obviously you will get a good reputation in terms of citations also.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sir, one of the participants is asking a question. What is the allowed timeline from submitting a journal to publication?
Timeline. That's why I told you that how frequently the journal is publishing, how much time it is publishing. You have to think about it. You can always open the journal one per manuscript. They will give article submitted date, right? Then they will say the first revision asked for, revisions accepted, publication accepted for publication. So they will all have their date history. So you can understand that when I put a journal takes 3 months, journal take 2 months, journal take 1 year. So accordingly, you can decide upon that how promptly the journal is publishing, and accordingly decide upon whether I should go for this journal or not.
Thank you, sir. Sir, one more participant is asking a question. Ramaya, sir?
Yeah. What is the question?
So his question is, if book chapters are to be published, what metrics we need to observe?
That only I have told Dr. Bhanu even, that when you are publishing with good publishing house, right? So, but obviously they are being considered by Scopus Web of Science, and you give citation for those book chapters also, which are published by good publishers as such.
Sir, one of the participants, Devash Sharma, is asking, his question is like this: what is the allowed duration between completion of manuscript and publishing?
There is no allowed, such type of a timeline given. I have mentioned already in one of the earlier question also that you have to decide upon, and over the time you will experience yourself that I'm not going to send to this journal. It is taking a lot of time. For 1 year, they will not respond.
Sir,
Of
this
this
is my
journal,
personal
do a
question.
fast review process.
If I have a research work, so how I need to decide whether to go for a patent publication or for a journal publication, and which one is best?
See, when you talk of patents are being filed the criteria of 3 ideal points as such. That it is a novel thing which you have worked on. It is a non-obvious, not known already to the scientists, and it has industrial applicability. So on these 3 criteria, these are the pre-qualifiers for a patent to be filed. So if you see that the work which you have carried out is worth patenting, so what you will do is you will first file the patent, right? And then go for publication. Once you get the application number, you can go for publication also. But vice versa is not allowed. You go for a publication and then filing a patent, then it will be a problem because they will say that it is already in the public domain. So it is under obvious category and not under non-obvious category, right?
Thank you, sir. Thanks for clarifying a big doubt. And another question, sir. So, book chapter or journal, which one is more valued by NAC or NBA?
See, actually, they ask for a data, bibliographic data in terms of H index, citation. So everything have a different type of an importance as such, right? So if you are publishing, if you have a good work, you should better go for a journal with a high impact factor because this is the hour of the need, right? So accordingly, and if you think that you are getting an offer to write a book chapter or a book by a very well-known established international publisher, then you should go for it because generally book chapters will talk about reviews and all. But if you are talking about research article, but obviously they will go for journal publication.
Thank you, sir. Participants, any more questions? Sir, one more participant, Harsha Kamath. Sir, he's asking how to get the list of publishers which are Scopus recognized.
So Scopus recognized, it is this Scopus list available. You can go for the list given in the UGC website, UGC care list. So there will be two lists, list A and list B. List B will talk about the journals which are indexed in Scopus Web of Science, and list A will be which are non-Scopus or Web of Science, but being approved by the UGC for promotion and CAS and everything.
Yes.
This is one of the approach, but otherwise you can also go to the journal website. In the instruction to the author, they will give a paragraph. What is the objective of the journal? What type of paper, call what paper is there? What are the various, type of, whether in all different databases, it is index, Embase, or a SCI journal, and it is like being indexed in Scopus, Web of Science, and so on. So both ways, they can always cross-check, right?
Sir, one more participant, Prashanti, she is asking, after research, there is a novel formulation which was not existed, then first time we need to publish or go for patent.
I've told you, I've already answered. If it's a novel, non-obvious, commercial applicability, you go for it, files, conform to the pre-qualifiers for a patent filing, go for patent filing. And once you get the application number, then you go for publication. If you go for publication first and then patenting, it is difficult to get a patent because then it comes under obvious category.
Yes, sir. Any more questions, participants? Sir, I would like to propose vote of thanks from behalf of Sri Vishnu College of Pharmacy. Sir, I thank you for accepting our invitation and sparing your valuable time for enlightening our participants. So you have shared us a valuable information about publications and the various quality metrics we need to observe in the publications and how to select a journal and all. And you have enlightened about the H10 index, I10 index, and the value of all these metrics in the various NAC and NBA publishing and all. So thank you very much from Sri Vishnu College of Pharmacy for sparing your valuable time and enlightening our participants. So with this one, with your permission, I would like to end this today's session, sir. Thank you, sir. With your permission, can I close the session, sir?
Yeah. Please. Okay, thank you. Thank you, participant, for your patience listening. Thank you, Vishnu College of Pharmacy, for inviting me. Look forward. Sometimes we can meet physically also. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm ending the meeting, sir. Thank you.